Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of multilingual vocals, songs that feature two or more languages in the vocal part of the track. Today we're going to be looking at a band that we've had a couple of times on the channel, some good old Sleepytime Gorilla Museum. We're going to look at a track called The Companions. Let's dive in and see what's going on with them today. Ooh, very ambient. I like the flattening of this sound over here.
All the desperate people in this town
Oh, the twinkling of the bells and then the bottoming out of the bass.
are coming out tonight.
Really beautiful decision introducing this section that way.
They'll be here soon. They want to be here with us in our glorious times. And when they start to laugh, we'll laugh too. But when they start to cry,
A slight harmonic shift here with this dark descending line.
we'll ask them to leave. They'll pull out their knives and kill us all.
Somewhere between Genesis and Cardiac. It's interesting.
Close the gate, they're here now. Lock the
Still have the brass off on the
they're
side.
here now. Bring the lights down. Put the lights out. Close the bar. Maybe they'll give up and go next door. Let's pretend we're gone. Pretend we're not here.
Interesting note choices on the vocals here.
Pretend we're gone.
That, I think, is the best, I should say the most solid resolution we've had at the end of a line in about half a minute or so. It's interesting how they just consistently landed on the wrong note.
I'm too strong now, and I can't lose. I'm too strong now. I can't lose.
So an interesting distorted is the wrong word. A twisted version of like blues?
But I can't lose.
So we went from Genesis to Tom Waits.
I stole everything from you. I stole your disaster. I stole your disaster from you now. I can't give it back. No, I never will. I can't give it back.
A little on edge here. I like how the trumpet off on the side, trombone maybe, the brass over there plays into the melody line. Beautiful operatic vocals in the background. The tremolo going over here, somehow I missed that. Ooh, all sorts of interesting polyrhythms here. Is that a flute? There was a sound in the decrescendo that was very airy. But I don't remember hearing the flute prior, and the flute's not here now, so...
All the desperate people in
Great control over tension. Working into that chaotic sound and then coming out of that into this. Very well done.
they'll be here soon. I know you want it all back, and I'm trying to figure out how I can pay it back, because I know you're
Yeah, that's a wild ride. I can't say that I enjoyed all of it, but I do think I get the general gist of what they're going for here. I want to start off though just by complimenting them on their wide timbre usage. There's so many different instruments in here, and there's even instruments I don't know what they were. We did have some acoustic guitar. We had some brass. I kind of waffled between trumpet or trombone. It's primarily the pitch that I think I'm a little lost at. Plus, again, earlier on in the track, we had the brass hold out a note and then slow kind of slide into a lower pitch. That's something the trombone does really well, but depending on the the two notes, the trumpet can kind of get an illusion of that perfect slide by using half valve technique. Also using embouchure adjustment and kind of flattening the notes with your mouth, and then also mixing that with half valve, which is where you just don't push the valves all the way down. You push them halfway down. You kind of get a muffled sound, and you can use that to transfer between pitches. Okay, it's not ever going to be as good as a trombone can do it, but yeah, I don't know. Some of the lower pitches, I think, I don't know. It's a brass instrument. We have them in this track. There's violin, I think. We heard them off on the side doing tremolo picking at one time. There's bells in here. There's a bunch of auxiliary percussion instruments that I don't know what they are. We had something that sounded like two pieces of sheet metal hitting together. We had it was something that was quasi-metallic. Like it had a metallic pinginess, but a very hollow wooden tone to it as well. I mean, it could have been two instruments being played simultaneously, but it also had a bunch of little strikes to it, not as if not being hit by a single mallet or a drumstick, but of brushes of some sort. There's also a couple of instruments there at the end that I'm not completely aware of what they're called. I think I heard some plucked dulcimer in there as well. There's a lot of different sounds in this song, and it isn't even just to help differentiate the portions of the song. It also just helps build ideas. I mean, the first like 3 minutes is one buildup, and through that we hear a good 60% of the sounds that we're going to hear. There's also the chance that there's some instruments in here I didn't catch. For instance, on the decrescendo, moving from the noisy bit to the outro, I heard some sort of tuft wind movement over through an instrument. To me, it sounded like a flute, particularly using very harsh tonguing technique to get a very hard T sound alongside an airiness of moving over an opening. To me, very fluty sound, but I didn't hear a flute anywhere else in here. There's also, during all of that noisy cacophony, the possibility that there are some instruments I just didn't hear, maybe because other things were taking my attention, or because they're just kind of a bit quieter in the mix. There's just a lot of really great ideas in here as far as just instrumental timbre, the sounds, the color of instrument choices. I love that about this song, and it's something that I love about most music. I think people tend to lock themselves into sounds depending on the kind of music they're making. And that's, rock and metal, right? You got your guitars, your bass, and your drum kit. But other genres do it too. I mean, whether it's folk or even pop music, whenever a sound gets popular, you just hear that sound everywhere. There's no more sonic exploration for a little bit. So, it's easy to get locked into the sounds of your style, whether it's your style or you're playing within the conventions of a genre. It's easy to just kind of trap yourself in the kinds of instruments you're using. And this track, it doesn't seem to have any bounds. It just does whatever it wants. Somebody in the band's like, I really hear this specific sound here. Let's find an instrument that'll cover that. So I really enjoy that component of this track. It feels fresh and interesting and wholly unique throughout the entirety of the song because it is constantly kind of changing up its sonic palette. And that's always pretty cool. Now, I had mentioned that the song does a great job of controlling energy and intensity and sort of just building this narrative. The song goes through quite a few different vibes. It starts off a little unknowing. It doesn't play its emotional cards right away. But once we bring in the bells and then the bass guitar comes in, which, dude, that's such a good transition. Sort of this is vague element at the beginning. We have a little bit of harmonic information. We have our rhythmic information. The melody has come in. The vocals have already started. We kind of have our bass line, but we don't know where the song is going yet. And then, with one bar to go before the phrase restarts, we have some bells twinkling around. And then with like 2 beats to go, the bass just comes in with a pickup note, or a couple of pickup notes, and takes us into the downbeat of our very full section now, which has the twinkling of the bells. It has chord progression. We have the bass giving us our foundation. The vocals are still giving us our lead melody. Like, this is the full, complete picture. But the movement into it from sort of a vague middle ground being lifted into the air with the bells and then finding the ground once again with the bass was just... I don't think I can put into words just how great that transition was. But from here, we spend quite a bit of time exploring something rather positive. I think the vocals themselves, I don't know, sometimes they come off a little eerie or uncanny. There's something about, I think, the timbre, the way that they sing, the note choices that they have, little things that kind of paint that this isn't picture perfect. But when you listen to just the music, it's got good groove, the bass sounds fantastic, the bells are gorgeous, all of the auxiliary parts are elevating the song. It really feels positive. There's nothing really dark or sinister going on here. There's nothing moody or dreary. It's just sort of neutral bright, kind of sitting around that midpoint, but certainly leaning towards brighter ideas. It's the vocals that are always sort of interesting, and it's what made, early on, I think this was about 5 minutes in, I talked about how for like a solid 30 seconds, the vocals would end their melodic line on just a bizarre note choice. Go to the next line, sing that one, everything sounds great, and then just end on a bizarre note and do it again and do it again. They just did it over and over and over. Just, there's always some part of the vocals that feels like this isn't everything. There is more to this song. This isn't just a kind of, I don't know, Baroque folk thing. I don't know if that's a thing. Taking like the concept of Baroque pop, more detailed, layered, oriented pop music, kind of taking that over to the world of folk here. But the vocals do a great job of indicating where things are going. Because the very next section is this Tom Waits style, kind of heavy grit, distorted or twisted blues style of music. There's a strong blues component at the core of this. You can kind of hear this country drawl in the vocal delivery, but it's all very dark and dreary and aggressive and overbearing. The heaviness and weight of the downbeats is unmistakable. It is this weight pushed down on the listener. The vocals are just gruff and aggressive. It's not just the vocal delivery of someone who is a bit on the older side, kind of getting a little bit of that gruff grit to the vocals, but it's also someone who's full of pain, presumably also from all those years. And it just sounds like an older person not have had a great life singing here about their pain. And in one way, that's very bluesy. And I think that's really what gives a lot of it this blues feeling. But then you listen to the instruments and it's sort of more of a modern take on music. It's very heavy, it's very ornamental, and it really focuses on vibe over chord progression. The sounds of the instruments, the instruments chosen for this section, how they relate to each other, sort of more important than the notes themselves throughout this moment. We get this for, I don't know, about a minute and a half or two. We build on it slightly. It isn't quite like the first 5 minutes, which seemed like a constant build-up. And then this takes us to noise. Honestly, we've kind of abandoned all of the previous sounds, which were kind of acoustic adjacent. I think the bass guitar was probably electric. But otherwise, I think most of the instruments were acoustic. And here, while there still are some acoustic instrumentation, it also feels distorted, digitally altered. Or, I mean, I guess you can also go electronically altered too, as far as amps and pedals go. I guess it is electrically distorted. Anyways, it's not just a pure acoustic sound anymore. And it's chaos, it's noise. I can't really make out individual components to this anymore. We've taken something that was beautiful. I absolutely loved the beginning of the song for its positive brightness, for as light as it feels, and have slowly been moving it towards this intensity, this weight, this pain. Like I mentioned, I don't really know everything that's going on in here. It's just a lot of overlapping ideas, creating a cacophony of sounds, and I don't even know if there's vocals in this part. And then that just simmers down. We kind of come back to the beginning. It's a nice sort of post-rock escalation of ideas. They do a great job of controlling things, volume, intensity, harmonic balance, moving from more consonant ideas to more dissonant ones. And part of it even comes in the performative elements too, particularly the vocal delivery and how that can change over the course of the song. Oh, there is that one section though. I forgot about that one. It's a little lighter. I think it's right before the noisy section. We have operatic vocals, which are incredibly intense, but harmonically we kind of lighten things up a little bit. It's almost as if our consistent climb takes a little bit of a dip while also still climbing itself before we hit that noisy peak. It was sort of intense in its own way. The instrumentation comes down, but the vocals once again continue to lead that push. Yeah, it's a good evolution of ideas, and I think that they do a great job pulling me through all of this, but I do find it to not have fantastic pacing subjectively. There's a lot of vocals and lyrics in here, and I assume that the length of some of these sections is necessary because they needed to say what they needed to say. They had these stanzas that they wanted to get out, and they just took some time to get through. But I do find that at least the first 5 minutes did feel a bit too long for me. I think a lot of it is that while there is general evolution, it's also a static sound overall. I found that the song picked up the pace rather quickly towards the end of the track, and I think the final 4 minutes kind of went by in a blur. I think that's just because we went through so many different ideas. reaching the peak of our intro sound, and then well, actually, no, reaching the peak of the Tom Waits section, and then introducing the operatic section, and then bringing in the noise, and then wrapping everything up with the more minimal return to the intro. I mean, that all happens in 4 minutes. The rest of the track is just two ideas that are kind of linked together, so it's more of a slow burn there. But I do think that it also helps increase the gravitas and weight of the ending too, that we spend so much time with the intro. So it's one of those things where I think it's the right thing to do, or just my attention. I'd certainly need to work on that. I tend to like things that have a quicker pace to it. Let me hit some lyrics on this. We'll see what's going on there. There are distinct stories in here. Uh, Okay, so there's a lot of background information on this, and it kind of separates things even further. The spoken word part at the end is actually a recording message that was left on a phone recorder to Nils. I forgot to look up who Nils is. I assume Nils is one of the band members. Okay. And apparently they had someone who came to a lot of shows, and they said, hey, how about you help us? And he ended up running the lights for their shows and ended up staying with them in their collective household, and then moved to Australia one day. And they hadn't heard from him for years, but he did leave cryptic answering machine messages. And this is one of them. It says, Nils, I stole my disaster from you. I know you want it back, and I'm trying to figure out how to pay it because I know you're coming for my soul. These lines actually end up leading into the chorus, the second chorus in the track, which says, I stole everything from you. I stole your disaster. I can't give it back. As far as I can tell, this outro spoken word sample and this chorus have nothing to do with anything else in the song. The majority of this track is about, well, it says all the desperate people in this town are coming out tonight. They'll be here soon, and when they start to laugh, we'll laugh too. And when they start to cry, they'll ruin it for everyone. We'll ask them to leave, and they'll pull out their knives and kill us all. Most of this is about the in-group here trying to survive the night while, as they put it, the desperate people of the town attempt to kill them. It says close the gate, lock the door, put the lights out, close the bar. Maybe we can pretend that we're gone and they won't know that we're here. The outro brings this back. All the desperate people in the town are coming out tonight. They'll be here soon. So this is the bookend to everything. This starts the song off and it ends the song, at least prior to the answering machine message. But then there's also in the bridge, this part that's the operatic section. It's sung in Spanish. And it says, this memory keeps your soul. His soul guards this tomb. God guards his body saves his breath. Behold the breath of the dragon, look at the shine of the knife. According to Nils, this was found on a gravestone, and while he did change some lines a little bit around to make it work better within a song format, it's just the reading of a gravestone. This is the third part of this that I just don't really have much of a way to tie back into anything else. I found it to be rather confusing just looking at the lyrics, but once I started seeing all the context to where parts of this came from, it feels even more disjointed now than it did when I didn't know where all of this came from and I was trying to just piece it all together. And I find that to be really interesting. I'm curious what other people take from this, particularly if you've listened to this song dozens of times, you know all the words by heart. Do you have a different take on all of this? Do you see a thread that might tie all this together that's invisible to me, having only listened to the track once? Oh, also another interesting piece of context is that the frame story of all of this, of the desperate people coming to town and hanging out with the non-desperate people, but then the night kind of going south and there being this war going on, this mass murder. This was all hypothetical. Nils went to see his brother, who was staying in a halfway house at the time, and vocally wondered what it would be like if they invited the other people in the halfway house to come see his show. He says he was unsure what would happen if they did that. And this was sort of something that he came up in his mind, that it might be fine while everything was good, but once things kind of went south, things would really go bad. And I don't know, dude. That, I don't know. Desperate people can mean a lot of things. And to me, I kind of took it to be the rich inviting the poor to a party of sorts. And kind of, for a moment, slumming it with the poor people of town as some sort of, rich experimentation to see how those poor folk live. And it's sort of at the poor folks' expense. But the desperate people in this case is people who are having difficulties in life in general, could probably also be poor people, but instead of the rich people, the others is just the band in this scenario. And I don't know, that feels weird too. I don't know what to think of this song right now. It's musically, I found that it made a lot of sense, but lyrically, I'm finding that it doesn't. I'm curious how other people feel about this. So let's wrap this up. These are my thoughts. Sleepytime Gorilla Museum's The Companions. What did you think of this, though? Did anything stand out to you? Is there anything that you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on? What's your opinion and take on this track musically or lyrically? Put all of that and anything else you'd like to add into the comment section below. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.